Good morning, hello, and a very warm welcome to the first edition of World of Fenestration debate series. I, Mohit Nivani, as the Vice President of ET Aztec, on behalf of the entire management, would like to thank each one of you for joining us for today's webinar. Aztec being the largest networking platform of the country, we understand the current situation and we are proud to bring together the industry through this unique debate series. And the theme for today's webinar is Urban Fabric Post-Pandemic, Automation versus Labor. In today's scenario, with the ongoing migrant crisis, businesses are faced with sensitive reality of choosing between automated modes or skilled labor. However, both sides have its own benefits. Our esteemed panelists have gathered here today to debate on the pros and cons of both the sides as to pass knowledge and their views to our attendees. This debate will be moderated by Mr. Jatin Shah. Jatin is a seasonal real estate professional with over 18 years of experience in India. Jatin has managed entire aspect of project lifecycle development in multiple projects and executed across India and also for international projects. As a national director, Colliers International, and with domain expertise of design, procurement, cost, and overall development, he has collaborated and led teams to provide value-add suggestions and inputs. Sharing his expertise, knowledge, and leadership skills across multiple projects, clients have benefited through the suggestions made by Jatin on cost, time, and buildability. We will be conducting various live polls during the webinar, and hence I request all attendees to participate and cast your vote. Without any further delay, I would like to hand over the mic to Mr. Jatin to introduce our panelists and to begin with today's debate. Thank you. Mic is all yours, Jatin.
Thank you, Moji, for the warm introduction. A very warm welcome to all the participants on this first series. And thank you for attending this. This is one of the first kind of debate series which is coming up on the world of fenestration. World of Fenestration, as Moji mentioned, is a niche conclave which is designed to unite the architects, the fabricators, the developers, the policy makers, and the facade consultants, engineers, procurement managers, and various stakeholders of the industry. The World of Fenestration debate series would be focusing on how healthy a debate discussion could be, curating a very knowledgeable platform and getting right inputs from all the industry stalwarts and stakeholders here. We today have a red team and a blue team. Participants can actually identify them with the red banner or the blue banner behind them so that you don't get confused while voting. Yeah. And remember, today's winner, whichever team will win, is going to be decided by all of you who are now numbering to about 200 participants as of what we can see now, which with over lot many more registrations coming in. Every vote is going to be very important and it's going to be decisive for both of the teams. So please vote. Let's listen to the arguments of each one of them very pointedly and take our notes down. The topic is a very interesting one. It has been under debate from various ages, and we need to remember that we should not have a preconceived notion about this topic, but we should hear to the arguments and make our choices pretty well. Just before we start this and introduce my extremely intelligent panelists here, I just want to put across certain more facts here. As an industry and these are the facts which are coming in from the various websites and various media. We have about 87,000 square meters of glazing which is being produced all over the country, and of which 16% accounts to the construction industry. In the Indian glass manufacturing is highly consolidated by about 4 major brands, and they take up about 50% of the spaces. Some of them have announced to get into robotics, but it's still on a very initial stages. In last year, India produced about 3,000 kilotons of aluminium, and it accounted to 13% of that comes to the construction industry. We have been having dominoes effect of the previous year, right from 2018, 2019, and now with pandemic in 2020, we have come up with certain facts that this industry employs about close to 30 million working class of India, and that's about 16% of the overall population. So this is truly a very labor-dependent industry. Without further delay, let me introduce you now to the red team. We have Mr. Mukesh Jetli. He is our Director of Projects of Vadua Group. Mukesh Jetli is construction industry, has been in construction industry from the last 30 years, a civil engineer by profession, and has a very vast experience in high-rise construction technologies. Having worked for a larger period of contracting and later for many developers, we welcome Sir to the series. Thank you, Mr. Mukesh, for joining us today. I now welcome our second participant, Mr. Gautam Bhasin. He is Regional Manager of Inhabit Group. Gautam is an architect and has diversified himself into facade engineering and design since last decade. He has worked on various building envelopes on various permanent projects across Asia. Having worked in Mumbai, Singapore, Hong Kong, he now manages Inhabit operations from Southeast Asia. Welcome, Gautam, to this esteemed panel. Our third red participant panelist is Mr. Ravi Panjwani, founder of Yantra Aluminium Window Systems. With 26 years of experience, which is focused towards providing solutions for innovative products around fenestration, he has been instrumental in getting international benchmark aluminum window system to this country. Thank you, Mr. Ravi, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Let me now introduce you to the blue team. And that's a color which syncs with the automation, I would say. Satish Kumar, Managing Director of Emerging Markets, Asia and Australia, Dasnik India. Mechanical engineer with 2 decades of experiences in business development in field of fenestrations and facade. Satish's experiences in profile systems, machinery, automation, software developments. He's currently in the regional role as Managing Director for Asia and Australia. He's also part of UWDMA and a technical committee. Is also involved with Thailand Industry Standards Institute to form the Windows standards for Thailand. Thanks for joining Mr. Satish today.
Thank you.
We have the second participant from the blue team, Mr. Shabu Ernest. He is a Senior Director of Projects, Katera Group. Shabu heads Katera, and with his 3 decades of experience in Asia, Africa, and Middle East, Shabu brings with himself a very diverse experience in construction management, project management, and is very well versed with the technology. He's driving force on technology behind in Katera Group. He has left various leadership positions in Shapoorji, Punch Lloyd, Simplex, and Tectonic Business. Welcome, Shabu.
Thank you. Thank you.
We also have the third eminent panelist, Mr. Mario Schmidt. Mr. Mario is the Managing Director of Lingel Windows and Doors. Mr. Mario has been establishing his company in last 10 years and has made it one of the top 10 companies in the country. He has helped in creating new windows like smart windows. He is also the president of UWDMA, and with his intense knowledge about the products, he has been a panelist of various events and has been actively involved with ASTEC and ZAC. Thank you, Mr. Mario, for joining us.
Good morning. Namaste. Welcome.
So, participants, fenestration industry in a sense represents disruption. We have always innovated. Challenges posed have made this industry to develop resilience, adaptability, flexibility, and efficiency. Today, a lot is dependent on all of you on who will win this debate series. This is the first of the debate series, and we have a live poll now coming up. Let's do this today now. Keep your fingers on your keypads and let's vote for it. What is the way forward? What should be the focus on the better future? Please vote now. I can see a lot of people voting. It's pretty interesting. I'm sure we will have this is more like an exit poll, but yes, let's see who wins this round. Where's the perception going on? Nice. I think we will have the poll results coming up.
Yes, we still have a few people who are voting. Just maybe another 5 seconds.
Yeah, let's give them. Please vote without any prejudice.
Okay, so I'm going to share the results.
Wow.
Yes.
It's pretty balanced. We have 60% for automation and about 40% who still feel that the red team is going to win. Very all the best to both the teams. Let's begin the series now. The first module is going to be on the opening remarks with each one of you gentlemen. We are going to have a timer which is going to run for 3 minutes only. All of you will be allowed to speak for 3 minutes. We will of course sound you off at the buzzer at the end of the second minute so that you can conclude your remarks. And with this, Shabu, over to you. All the best.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So let me, just put up my perspective uh, on the significance of automation in the construction industry, specifically in the civil construction. So for doing that, I would like to take all the participants and the panel members, respective panel members, along with me, just to an imagination of a huge construction site which is being done in a conventional mode. So just imagine you are there. So what you will see massive staging works, massive scaffolding works, massive shuttering works, massive sounds, massive air pollutions, massive dust pollutions, massive people around, the grinders, the Hilti machines, the compressors, jackhammers, all, giving all sorts of, that sense. Now just imagine a situation where we take all these elements of the building structure like columns, beams, slabs, walls, whether it is a load bearing or a non-load bearing, all these elements, we take it away from the site and we take it to a remote area, to a factory where we produce them in a controlled situation wherein we have PLC driven machines, we have CNC driven machines, and we have custom made machines which gives customized special products in the construction for the various structural elements. So if these are done in a controlled atmosphere, what results in is basically we get a very high precision on the product, number one. Number two, we get an immaculate quality on the product. Number three, of course, is the speed. We can produce the elements like anything and install it in half a time than compared to what a conventional construction may take place. The added advantage of that of this automation is that this basic precision or quality or the fast speed, all these three parameters basically have a high level of consistency throughout the period of the project life. So that is very important, the consistency in the precision, consistency in the quality, and the consistency in the speed of production. So this is one aspect of it. Second aspect of it is, I will put it, just again go back to a site where, a toilet is being constructed, where a kitchen is being constructed, a lot of marble cuttings, a lot of granite cuttings, tile cuttings, handling the materials, taking it, shifting it to the higher levels. Workers are available. Today one set of worker is there, tomorrow another set of worker is there. So the workmanship, all those factors in when you go for the conventional type of construction. Just imagine that we built up a ready-made, custom-made pot or a toilet block or a kitchen block with fully loaded, with tiling works, with the vanities, with the counters, with the fixtures, everything in a controlled atmosphere. And then we take it over to the factory, to the project location, and just install it. So that itself creates a big environmental effect on the site. And at the same time, when we are doing it in the factory, we have a control on the dust exhaust, we have a control on the wastages, we have a better opportunity for salvaging, things like that. So basically you will have all these advantages when you switch over to automation. So I stand for automation for all this.
Thank you, Shabu, for some of the good points. I would now pitch in a representative from a contracting world to a developer world, Mr. Mukesh, for the counter arguments. Mr. Mukesh, you're on
mute. Okay, I've unmuted you.
Yeah. So good morning, everyone. And see, it's a laborious job to unmute. So automation would have helped. You've given me 3 minutes. We have to beg for 30 seconds on various debates to even get those 30 seconds is a challenge, and 3 minutes is a very good time to get. Shabu has, very well put across his points, but this topic is really, worth a debate, because automation versus labor. It might make somebody look very progressive, and make certain people look very regressive, but both of the topics, both of the things have their own pros and cons, as you had mentioned earlier. Automation has its own advantages, and so does the dependency on labor. Now, if I try to put in perspective, in India, more than 50 million people are involved in construction, which is just about 10% of the total manufacturing happens across India. So what would be required is, if we really want to achieve automation in our sector, then there will be a lot of skill training would be required to be given to upgrade their knowledge, to get them to a technician level, and that is a huge task. I take the example of Mr. Shabu itself. I've been into this industry, and what he was hinting is, probably doing precasting in the yards and bringing the elements onto the site, and avoiding all those activities, right from scaffoldings to noise of drilling and so on and so forth. But uh, in 30 years, I have not seen any much progress on this. There are various disadvantages to that, in terms of the design element, restricting elevational treatment. It doesn't give much of creativity element to the whole design. Architects won't be much happy. So it has its own restrictions. Having said that, in past 30 years, we've been talking of precast, we are talking of doing things in yards, but that has not gone on that has not actually caught on with the whole thing, except for in the infra works, where the elements are not the aesthetic is not really much important, but you do see those elements now coming up with various different kind of foam, using foam liners in the shuttering and all those things. This we are trying to, I'm talking, as I was just countering Mr. Shabu over the civil field. But our current topic of, facades and all those things, automation is difficult for me to digest 100%, because, as we go further in the debate, I'll open up on those points, and we'll take it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mukesh. Very, very good points which came out of this thing. I will now go back to the blue team and ask Satish, who has been in this driving this automation within this company. Satish, over to you.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Jatin. Well, automation is generally seen like some kind of a robotic thing, which is a very high-tech kind of a factory, something like the Terminator days. Well, actually, automation can start before machines and go beyond machines. And to bring it to the fenestration context, let's say our office is in Andheri and the factory is in Palghar. You have a tender, the estimator can log into a software which is on a cloud or on a server. He can do the estimate and post it back on the server. You can go discuss with the client, close the order, log it in. Then the designer comes in, downloads the details, makes the shop drawing on the software with a couple of clicks, submits it to the architect. Once the shop drawings are approved, logs it back onto the server. The project team can log in, take the survey drawings, go to the site, physically check if the dimensions are okay, log it back in. The production planning department can log in, download the BOM for the entire project, place the orders on the suppliers for profiles, for glass, for hardware. Everything can be done remotely. Okay? And then the production team, which is in Palghar, nowhere connected to the office, can log into the server. The factory manager can download the entire details of the project, the purchase order copies. When the material comes in, he can check it, log into the stock. The production guy can connect to the machine. The machine can recognize what operations the profile needs to be done. After cutting the profile, a barcode is generated. The operator sticks the barcode on the profile, moves it to the next station, where another machine recognizes what operations are required on the profile, whether be it lock drilling or be it handle fixing. Everything can be done by the machine. with the help of the barcode. And it goes to the assembly. Again, the assembler can scan the barcode. He knows what are the components required, the hardware, the glass. He puts it together, packs it, puts another barcode. And then it goes to the site. At the site, the project department can again scan the barcode, know which location it has to be installed. Now, all this can happen pre-COVID, where it was not necessary for this physical distancing. But now with COVID, it can move from this paperless office or paperless production to physical distancing. Now you can automate it and adapt to physical distancing easily with this kind of automation. So it's not just about machines, it goes beyond. I rest my case here. Thank you.
Thank you, Satish. A very good point on pre-design phase. I think I'm getting some pointers on this. I move to Ravi. Ravi, of course, is your counterpart, a very well-known face in the facade industry. Mr. Ravi, over to you. Sir, you're on mute. Mr. Ravi, you're on mute. I'll unmute you.
Okay, thanks, Jatin. I would first thank WOF team to organize this debate. It's a very important debate as of today, on today's times, what's happening today. Labor dependency is yes. Looking at our industry, I come from Fenestration, so labor dependency in our case, I look at it is very high, and it's being a different specialized kind of industry what we are into. As of now, because of the COVID times, considering the migrant laborers moving out of the city and gone back to own states, so obviously automation becomes an option out for everybody to think about it, to look at it this way. But I have a different opinion out here. Being from Fenestration, we have a lot of in-detailed workings to be done. Maybe at production level, something we can automate, or we're looking at things. But when it comes to total scenario of the whole project, the site conditions, or we'll discuss in detail when we go to next debate out here. So we come from a very skilled, controlled industry where we have a lot of skilled laborers along with us. And the kind of jobs what we do, probably if I have to compare this, I can compare with a fine dining restaurant, where everything is specialized, is tailor-made, is customized. So every project has its own demands, requirements, and a lot of bespoke solutions need to be provided from project to project, maybe from 2 windows to 2,000 window project, but they still have their own choices of what they want to do. So probably similar like a restaurant, you can't go and have a standard menu, so that becomes a fast food chain restaurant, or probably McDonald's. So we are not that kind of environment where we can totally get into automation. So I would say this time it would be more of maybe some parallel processes, or some processes can be coming into using some equipment. But as an overall thing, we need to get more looking at how do we manage our labor skills. And at this stage today, we look at how do we get the laborers back into our industry, and then look things to go forward. So I would rest my case out here.
Well said. We are not in a fast food industry. We are in construction industry. Well said. Gautam, sorry, I would now ask Mario to advise us from the blue team. What is his personal view on this? Mario, over to you.
Very good morning to all of you. Thank you to WOF and to ESTEC team, and thank you to all the panelists being here today. Talking in terms of automation, there are a few different topics what we have to see why it has to be. Labor dependency, if my laborers are not available, I am forced to make this innovation. Or if consumers are not agreeing anymore to pay the price what I actually need for, then I have to think about standardization. Then maybe I'll talk about the boring blocks of houses which we are using in Europe. But this is the way when labor workforce became over the last couple of years quite very expensive. In similar situation I'm facing, or everyone is facing in the country, when I had started here 14 or almost 15 years ago, the labor component was X and the price in the market was X. So today the labor component is X multiplied 3 because we have past 15 years, it is well deserved, but my price in the market remains the same for the product. So it means somehow I'm forced to innovate. I would love to have the nice design. I would love to have the individual making the windows, installing the nice facade, making the individual construction, and there will be definitely a niche market confirmed. But overall, when we talk about standardization, when we talk about making a mass production, mass housing, or keeping houses to an affordable range towards the consumers, we as an industry, we will be forced to adopt those processes to deliver on the end, to in price and in quality what a customer is looking for. And therefore, these two things, workers available, yes, then the price cut comes, how to make it. All workers are not available. In both the options, I am forced to think about automation and then also think else what kind of limitations I have with under the umbrella, but in the same time, what goals I can have so that in future I will be able to achieve a market which I would never be able to with a very extensive workforce. So also what was spoken by Satish very well, when my factory is far ahead, at the same time I have an on-time communication towards the site. These are all the advantages of the innovation. And when we look in industry countries like Japan or like Europe, even Germany, my home country, there, of course, over a period of time, we were forced to implement all these things so that on the end, technical, correct, perfect products, well predefined, are getting delivered to our customers. This is my statement on this point. Thank you so much for the moment.
Thanks, Mario. Thanks. So standardization is the key here. Over to you, Gautam. You have been a champion of facade design for over the last few decades. Gautam, what are your views? You're on mute, please, Gautam, if you can unmute yourself.
Right. I think I'll try and probably harp on a few points that were raised by the other panelists here. And I think nobody is against automation at the risk of sounding regressive, that we're not friendly to future technologies, not wanting to improve what we're doing. But I think the first thing we need to all know that this is an industry of craft. As Ravi said, it's a fine dining restaurant, not a McDonald's chain. We are looking at solutions that need to be highly customizable to individual needs, may it be aesthetics, may it be performance. And it's not that you can have the same window go on a high-rise tower and that same window can go on a bungalow. There may be very different products with very different performance and aesthetic demands. I think to gain benefits out of automation and to get efficiencies in the end product, you need to have a lot of standardization, a lot of product standardization that needs to happen, which almost starts leaning towards a cookie cutter solution, if that's a valid term. And maybe almost leaning towards a one-size-fits-all approach towards fenestrations, or one-size-fits-all approach towards supplying facades onto buildings, which I think is slightly taking it away from the craftness of the product itself. And lastly, I think in the light of the current events, the human resource crisis we are going through, it may almost be a knee-jerk reaction that, hey, all our men have disappeared, or all our workers have disappeared, so let's start putting machines in, which I think may not be the right answer as trying to manage this crisis. I think what may be correct, and this may be a philosophical argument, that we may need to train our people better. We may need to train our workers better. So instead of having your workers available to you seasonally, your cities can house them. You can actually have them fully permanently employed right across the year, and you have the right skills to maybe have automation to an extent, but not fully rely on it. So I think those are my 2 cents here.
Thank you. Some of the very good pointers which actually we were able to come out of this opening remarks, while Shabu spoke about controlled atmosphere, precision, quality, consistency. Mukesh had various disadvantages which have been raised because of this, like creativity being lost by the architect, making elevations like cookie cutter, which came from Gautam. Satish also was that touched a very basic point on automation during the pre-design or the production times. So apart from that, I think all the participants here who are on this webinar or on this debate series have recorded all your points. I would say they're very intelligent, and they are going to vote again when the next time comes up. And just to remind all the participants, we also have a Q&A session coming up in the last session, and I'm seeing a lot of interesting views coming out from in the chat boxes about unemployment, about a lot of population being available, about creativity, and a reminder to all of that. So with this, I think let's move to the part 2 of our debate series, which is actually going to be a very exciting one, because here the opening remarks have now been raised. And this is a subtopic on innovation and automation as a tool to transform potential. But I think the fenestration industry is also pretty labor intensive. That's what came out originally. So in today's scenario, when the economy is plunging, Team Red and Team Blue, why should we not look at and focus on maximum design flexibility or having most of best of all, whether it's an automation or a labor, during the pre-construction stage, during the production stage, and during the installation stage. So should we go for automation or for labor? Blue team and red team. I would now start with the red team here. Mukeshi, what's your point here?
Yeah, I'm glad I got the opportunity first to speak on this. I can nail it here itself. So, as I said, when we make any product or say building per se, we want to make best of it. Everybody wants to buy best of car, good looking building, good looking house, and a functional one also. So, as I said, if we go run of the mill standardized cookie cutter approach, the entire creativity is lost. And facade is actually the skin of the building. If I restrict myself to the facade, it's actually the skin of the building. Now there are various asset class in this. Let me start. It can be a affordable segment. It can be mid luxury segment. It can be a super premium segment. Where different kind of facades go in. So I'll touch upon the cost aspect of it at a later stage. But the architect has to have a creativity to design. Now, like for example, if we design a full glass building with the glass facades on all sides, right at the drawing board we start thinking about how we would clean it. So we start thinking right at the terrace level when we are on the drawing board, how the rails would move, how the BMU would move and clean the facade. We have to think right from that stage itself. Now, if you're going for automation, then right at the beginning on the drawing board itself, we'll have to plan our buildings in such a way, apartments in such a way, or the offices in such a way that it caters to the need of housing the machineries. We can have machineries, we can have tools, but how do you house them on site during the construction stage? As earlier Shabu had mentioned, and with his huge background, and it's given. We all have worked on sites. There is a chaos. Even a best kept site, a best housekeeping done on site. Site is a site. With various elements there, scaffolding, so on, so forth. How do you get the machinery inside? I'll start from I'll just give you in urban spaces as it is. You have space crunch. How do you lift the material? How do you lift the glasses for the facade? How do you lift the frames? Restrict, because there are a lot of other activities which are going on, and you might damage your goods which are going to be the final skin of the whole thing. So if I'm looking at automation, then my design has to go a sea change.
Do you think that automation is not possible, Mukesh? I mean, like, do you think?
No, I have to concede at this point of time, as Satish said, automation can be restricted to the up to the factory level. So once it leaves the doors of the factory and it comes to the site and till the installations, which I'm sure Ravi will point out more.
The second option is to use a software like Grasshopper, where you can make this 3D model, and from that you can extrude the profiles, you can connect to the machine and get the exact nodes, exact angles. Okay. When I say automation, any kind of design is possible. It's not that it has to be restricted to certain standard modules which need to fit into a box. It's not cookie cutlery like Gautam mentioned. No, automation can do anything which is possible. And in today's context, when you have complex facades, you need software, you need machines to do these kind of operations.
Let's hear from Gautam's view. Gautam.
Yeah, but I think just to add, there's only one Vadva capital in Mumbai and probably India, because you don't do that kind of building every day. I think what we're trying to cover here is probably a larger range of facades and how can automation probably benefit. Complex geometries, I would agree. You need automation in design, you need some level of intelligence in design, and potentially, if you have the access to the technology, in fabrication and site installation as well. But I think that sort of doesn't, you can't like take that as a blanket cover pretty much everything.
No. Even if it's simple geometry, the automation helps in speeding up your process. Okay. Today, when you have a certain deadline set, when you're registering your project in RERA, you are bound by a certain time. So to complete the project on time, automation helps because you can really time the production capacity. Based on your production capacity, you can allocate your resources and can be assured that you can produce those so many panels or so many windows in that time.
Are you saying, Satish, that automation in the
is,
factory doesn't need laborers also to be involved? There are no white collars or blue collared laborers who are required during the pre-design phase? Is that your inference here?
No. So when we are talking about design, we need designers to operate on the software. When it comes to production, you need the operators, you need the assembly people to assemble these components. Okay. It's like an automobile line. You need the machines, but you also need labor to assemble it. The same way in fenestration, you need machines to machine these components.
And before I go to Mukesh again, can I ask you a question that are you saying that our industry is like an automobile industry where it's like, you just keep on producing cars? I don't think so. But let me hear from Mukesh because he wants to interject here.
Yeah, so I take the point of Satish, and even Gautam would agree to this, that for complex design we need computer simulations. We can design each and every element. But I'll give you 3 examples of 3 different eras. There was this Empire State building which was constructed. It has lot of facade, lot of manual, even in design and in the installation, lot of manual labor went in. Midway, if we come, even for Burj Khalifa, you will be surprised to know lot of installations were done by manually. No automation could help there. And it's relatively in a new age time. In between, I know we did Vadwa, this thing. I know the kind of trouble we had. The elements were designed fine, but the installations were a nightmare. Probably today it will be still easier, but you can't take away, so to say, and we all agree, the craftsmanship required for this kind of installation. And besides, as I mentioned earlier, with lot of other chaotic things happening on site. And luckily, Capital was in a space where we had open spaces all around. If you're doing a high rise right in the center of the city, imagine there would be an argument that automation would help, but how it will help? At what cost?
Shabu.
Yeah. So I have just 2 quick points to say that there are 2 perspectives in the design aspect. When it comes to construction industry, the pre-construction automation, there are 2 perspectives of it. Basically, the present is one. The present is one is that you need to have a balance of automation and skilled laborers, highly skilled laborers. But if you look at the future, what is going to be the future? The future is definitely a lesser, manpower, and it is going to be robotic. That is going to be the day tomorrow, definitely for sure. So there are already steps being taken in various parts of this universe, and things are getting evolved even in India also. That is one aspect. Second aspect, I will reply in the same coins what Mr. Jatin told. He gave an example of car manufacturing. Yes. See, look at the cars. Different brands have different features internally and externally.
Not in the same factory.
Yeah, but it is automated. It is automated. X factory, Y factory, we can club it. So the technology can be developed. The flexible technology, PLC unit machines, it can be programmed. It can be programmed for various types of features. So all these things are going to get evolved.
Everybody is not driving the same car. Everybody is not driving the same car. There are different.
You should answer that. Ravi, you're on mute. Ravi, why don't you take up? Ravi, you're on mute.
So Adam's a different perspective to the whole discussion now. We all need to understand whatever best of things we are doing, we are a very unorganized sector. Look at the building industry. So whatever highlight projects we will talk about, they may hardly be 0.01% total volume we are talking about. In my career of 26 years now, I've gone through projects where we're on the project and we in between change the end use of the project. From a mall, it turns to office, office to mall, or anything happens. We may talk about the building sizing changing, saying we'll add 3 more floors afterwards, hold on. So there are a lot of things happening. Again, the site conditions on the pre-design stage have never been decided. How would you move all the equipment inside and how will you move the manpower and a lot of other issues. So I would say it's not automation. We all agree as a businessman, everybody wants to get automated and have things move faster. But looking at the conditions, so I would probably move where it's an unorganized sector. Let's contribute to it, make it first organized, and we come to different things. So today, as of today, we are too much dependent on labor on everything, right? From my design to my procurement to everything that's happening. So industry as such needs to grow up. That's my point. But I would like to put at this stage when you talk about as an overall everything, pre-design, at design stage, at approval stage. Unfortunately, today our clients don't even sign our drawings on a mass project. Talk about signing our drawings with still detail. They say that's not clear till now. How do we start production when it is not clear?
Mario, what's your view?
As a point number one, we have all to agree that automation, even in installation, especially in India for the high riser, we have actually reached somewhere. We don't have the situation where I'm installing my aluminium frames or UPVC frames, and after a couple of times, someone starts the glazing. No, panels are already coming along with glass to the side. So we went already a very good step. So now only we have to make the planning in advance more into our costing to be more profitable on the end when we know, okay, for this particular site, it makes more sense to deploy 100 more people, by 100 hours, whatever. Or for this site, it makes sense to arrange the crane, to arrange the cradle, to lift it up. But overall, we can't excuse saying, oh, we are an unorganized segment. We have to become organized when we want to be a part of the world, when we want to be a part of the high quality what we are doing. In Europe, we are signing all the drawings on the paper. No one is going anywhere for the measurement. It is just getting delivered. Then we are removing the scaffolding at a point of time. We are fixing the heavy units with an forklift and vacuum inside the building, so that shifting labors are also not there because speed counts. The moment we realize here what is actually the cost, how much speed and slowdown is costing us on the end, the invention would have been, of course, much ahead where we are at the moment. But of course, what Satish also rightly said with RERA, where we have certain times to complete the project speed is very, very much more important in future. Confirmed.
Is automation up to the mark in current country? Mukesh, do you want to interject that point, or Gautam?
Yeah, so I'll just take it from the execution part of it. We have used the best of sections from best of companies. Though still have not used Lingel as yet, but surely would use in near future. But having said that, the designs are fantastic. The performance in the labs are fantastic. The selling is done very nicely. The mock-ups are done very superbly, because there's 1 or 2 windows or the facade which goes up. What happens when all these sections which are best designed, and by the best companies in the world, and what was have been known for using whatever is the best available, and we've been progressive that way, using the. But what happens? Where are people who would install it the way it is intended to be? And I'll just go back to example. An architect would design a very nice building, but if the execution fails and the quality suffers, the whole purpose is lost. So I might have best of sections, best of everything, but the installers are not good. They are not qualified. They are not skilled. And what is the level of automation in installations? Let's talk about that. How do we achieve that? We might be talking of automation, as I said, right up to the door of the exit door of the factory. From there on, as I speak, there is a truck standing at one of my sites right now with the glass to be unloaded. So these are the typical problems. How do we achieve that automation part of it on an existing running site? I always had a view, and I'll just take a minute on this. For example, we used to do masonry, then we used to fix up the door frame and do the plastering, punning inside, tiling, and then do the door shutters and fixing and everything, and with the all the hardware. Now what we are doing is everything is finished, and the last item which comes is the door frame and the shutters along with the hardware fitted, and we just tuck it in. There are two things which I achieve. A, I've deferred the entire cash flow right up to the end. B, I'm not messing up with the door frames and shutters. They are as clean as new. Now, if these kind of things can be achieved, which which pushes my cash flow to the fag end of the project, and I'm working with the facade or the windows right at the very end, and at that stage, how we can achieve the best installation, automize it to a certain extent, then yeah, the point is taken, but it will lead to other aspect of it, which probably we discuss later.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Gautam, what are your views on what Mukesh just added a few points on, and obviously Mario had spoken about parameters which he feels that automation is important.
I think I would certainly agree, and almost carrying forward that point that Mukeshji brought about, that how much automation can we have in the installation process, because it's almost like trying to buy a shiny new car, drive it right out of the showroom, and then drive it into a wall. That's what typically happens to facade glazing panels on site. You see 5 guys literally trying to struggle to pick it up, and then they keep banging it from pillar to post before it gets installed, and there's a lot of damage that gets incurred. So I think the whole benefit of high-end finishing, high-end fabrication, high-end assembly installation, we don't get that benefit downstream when it gets installed as a finished product. So I think we need to start having that discussion as well, because a great finely developed window system in a factory, which comes fully taped and fully sealed, what does it look after it gets installed, and does it actually perform the way it should, or as envisaged? So I think that's equally important. So I think the site component is often not addressed as to how can we make it more efficient, how can we actually get better installed product rather than a design or fabricated product.
Yes.
So I have another 5 minutes for this round 2, and I'm opening up to everyone instead of asking all of you guys.
Whether the lift is available, whether the lift can be scheduled for that time, can all be discussed, can be sequenced, so that we don't have this issue of the truck coming and standing, and there's a long queue of trucks which are waiting. Now, all this should be discussed in the takeoff meeting. Now, when you have a proper schedule and you stick to the schedule, a lot of things can be automated. Through the lift or the fork of the tower crane, everything can be sequenced. The most important thing, when the human interface comes in, the human who is involved in this process should have the experience, should have the knowledge of the products and how to schedule and sequences.
So you are
if it is done, I'm sure
you are saying without
even
human
that can be automated. For example, the Burj Khalifa. No, human intervention is required, but the software or the automation helps. For example, the Burj Khalifa, they did a lot of simulation of the panels, how it should be installed, whether from bottom to top or top to bottom or floor-wise, how it has to go up. Because that helps to understand and also look at the safety aspect, where the people should be there.
Factories in the country today are fully automated or on robotics?
Less, very less.
Now,
Important
robotics, sorry.
It's quite
go ahead, Mario, go ahead.
So you agree that it's quite less.
When we talk about installation, we have to take care that site tolerances are less, that the word Jugaad is getting out of the construction site. And the moment this is out,
precisely my point.
Comes in, and then we can automate it. And
Exactly the point.
Have to ship something.
That's the point, Mario. That's the point.
Yes. And how
See,
many
despite using aluminum foam, those tolerances do crop up, and you cannot have, as Gautam might design a very best system, you might manufacture the very best system, But while the installation, all these tolerances and all this come into play, how do we do this? And Satish, for your logistic cannot be automated. Logistic is a logistic.
See, when it comes, yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead,
yeah, see, when it comes to installation, yes, there is a huge challenge in this present scenario in the construction industry to particularly make it automated. But having said so, just imagine the element or the economic, the financial element in the erection of a particular project is hardly 15 to 20%.
Finances separately, Shabu.
No. I mean to say, yeah, no, where it comes from, the investment, the investment of.
If we keep cost angle aside, and we will touch base on cost angle as well. Okay. I assure you that next round, let's talk on cost, right?
Okay.
Currently, let's focus on this labor versus automation during keeping costs aside. What do you think, Tabu?
Of course, it's a challenge under the present scenario.
It's a challenge, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
For installation.
Let me give one example, very good example, which is getting missed out. And when you fix up the panels or you're doing this, who do we look for? Where are the Spider-Mans? And how do you replace them now? Tell me, especially in our country.
Can you replace human labor for cleaning of the facade? That's a post-operation situation I'm giving. Anyways, Mario. What's your take?
Yeah, cleaning robotics is already there. Important is, as I said, especially in the high-end curtain walls, we have achieved a lot. All the panels are reaching already with claws to the side. I'll take it up, fix it 1-to-1. I would say already here the labor force has reduced minimum by 50 or 60%, and you have to agree, compare if such a building would have been made like 20, 25 years ago. And of course, now we are not talking what is going to happen tomorrow. We are talking for the next decade. We are talking about an evolution. The process has to be there. Technology has to be there. People have to be skilled. I have to train my person. Then one person with skills will make the job of 3 normal persons who are untrained today. This is the future. It's going to come. It's going to take time.
Okay, I'll take a step back here. I think when you're saying that this is for the future, I think there's at least half a dozen buildings in the world currently that are completed using PVC, the volumetric construction method, where rooms are fully prefabricated with the toilet fittings, taps, facade panels, wallpaper, flooring, and then they're just stacked on top of each other. You might have all heard about that building that China was aiming to complete in 90 days, like 500 meter odd. Again, what are the drivers for this, really? I mean, if we, like the buildings that are currently being prefabricated entirely and just assembled on site, they're trying to eliminate the need for labor to be imported from other countries. So the regulation is trying to keep the labor off. But I think we don't have that sort of a problem here to sort of ape those technologies into our current scenario. The Chinese example, I think they just wanted to prove to the world that we can actually build a building like that in 90 days. There was no other driver for it. So I think we need to sort of identify what the drivers are and then start approaching automation and how far should we go into it at site and execution.
I agree with Gautam. There is no comparison between China, India, and other Western world.
Yeah, you're right. But automation also actually improves the productivity. The volumes which you're talking about, the number of projects which you're talking about. That the point here is, since the pre-construction production gets automated, what happens? The speed of delivery of items with precision, with quality increases, which by default, decreases the dependency of the workforce at the site for erection. So that is an added advantage, wherein we need less guys at the site to erect, to install. Of course, the caliber has to be different. Caliber has to be high. So that is the basic difference. Ravi, what's your take on this point, sir? You're on mute, sir.
Sorry, I missed out. I got logged off in between.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about automation to labor dependency. Mainly for our industry, again, I'll repeat the same thing it's going to be difficult to get into automation. Selected procedures, yes, we can get into it. But till the time the whole industry doesn't look at having standardizations or looking at things coming as a mass industry, getting into automation would be an uphill task. So as of now, we are dependent on labor, and maybe near future, with a lot of changes on the design stage and other stages, we can look at partial automations coming in between.
Okay. I think let's conclude on this subtopic as of now. We have got very good pointers. There's at least the red team and blue team are agreeing on one point, that automation, correct me if I'm wrong, that automation is definitely the need of the hour moving forward. But currently, we don't have that power or the powers to have an automated installation at the site. I would now ask participants to again come up with their keyboards, because there's another polling coming up based on this round 2 debate which we had. And over to you, Mohit, to put up the poll, and let's see, is there a swing now between the red team and the blue team? Remember, we had on the first poll an inclination where people were more oriented towards automation. About 60% of them were pro-auto and 40% to pro-labor. Let's see the results now based on this phase 2. Participants, we also have opened up the chat box for you. The chat box is about, you can pose the questions to the red team and the blue team, which we will be able to take it at the end of the third session.
Okay, last 5 seconds for the vote.
Last 5 seconds. Whoever is not voted, please vote. Right. Eagerly waiting for the results. Everyone. Wow. We're still at 62%. So the blue team has managed a swing of about 1% in their favor. Let's see. Let's move to the round 3, which is going to be pretty interesting. And I'm just taking the cue from what Shabu was trying to mention about it. Let's open up this discussion, because it is something which is being debated worldwide on what is the cost of automation. And from a current situation of economic meltdown across the country and across the world, and situations going really bad, or in future it might even improve, what do you think is cost efficient in the Indian context? Is it automation or is it labor? I would invite one of the speakers from the blue team to take the lead here, and let's talk about cost efficiencies here from the Indian context. And participants, you need to be very careful on this argument, because this is something which is very, very important.
So with my members' permission, I would like to initiate this talk. Okay. So basically, when it comes to cost for this particular construction industry, when we go for automation, yes, there are few factors which goes in. Basically, you need to have a huge initial capital to have all those facilities in place, including the logistics. That is number one. Number two, you always need a higher capacity tower crane at the site to erect heavier members. Number two. Number three, of course, you need blue collars or workforce, basically who are more skilled, So the prices of their, the remuneration of theirs is little high. Number three is, am I clear to everybody?
You're clear, but yeah.
And
you are very clear that cost is going to go up.
Yeah, the cost is going to go up. Yes, there is a solid design team required, and of course, the industry also switches from construction industry to industrial industry. So there is a different in norms. So there is a cost increase. But having said so, there are some offsets also on that. Number one offset is definitely the faster execution of the projects. which gives a value addition to the contractor in terms of a better rate of revenue, which gives an advantage to the developer to get a better return on his investment. And since
Have you reduced your prices because of getting a better revenue when you quote?
no, that's what I will come to that. I will come to that. That is number one. Number two, of course, by default, what happens, the design of the structure falls under the purview of the contractor. So there is always a scope of doing value engineering and optimizing the design to reduce the cost of construction, which contributes a lot, which we have been seeing. Third, of course, the reduction in the wastages, the reduction in the abortive works, all those things factors in terms of positives for the contractor. Last but not least,
cost is still going to go up.
Yeah, and net effect, if you see net effect, definitely there is a bit of high cost of construction, which is a bit difficult to sail through in India with the current scenario. But looking into the developer's perspective, if they go into the rate of return, I mean return of investment point, they would prefer, they would go, but selective.
Let's hear from Mukesh whether he will go for it or not.
Yeah, that is what.
So even Shabu is in that space, but let me come back, to in the last discussion you mentioned, how many factories do we have in India which are fully automated? Now it requires a lot of space, to have a fully automated plant. Factories in and around any urban space are not that, you can call them a mid-size thing and not still fully automated. And they do require skilled technicians to work on those machines. Now, if somebody has to put up a large plant with a large, as the real estate prices are, the capex cost, as Shabu mentioned, goes up right at the very beginning. Now, if we go on the project levels, I would be happy, as I gave example of those doors and shutters, I can defer the entire procurement till the fag end of the project, so that my cash flow is deferred and the material comes at the right time, just in time approach, and I fix up the doors and be done with it. Now, as regard facades and everything, I would be happy to have the same approach. But what happens is, today, what are the sales velocity which are happening? We are never in rush. We have now with RERA, we have timelines. We know the schedule by what time we need to finish the whole thing. But facades and everything are such an element in our selling strategy, that if you do a facade up to a certain level, or if you close out the building up to a certain level, you start getting the revenue. So we start somewhere midway, the installation of facades and everything. We cannot defer it to the fag end, or our revenue model will have to change how we recover the money for the construction from this. I would be happy if we can do it the whole way. But talking from the automation aspect, how many such factories would work day and night and be occupied for 365 days, even with 2 shifts or 3 shifts, if there are not volumes? It's all about economy of scale. Given the current scenario of the real estate for past few years, and I don't know how many more years in future, given the times we are going through, where would be the volumes? There won't be volumes. In India,
one of the IPCs have actually published a report that residential market will not revive for next 5 years. So that's one of the points. Satish, what's your take here?
Okay. When it comes to automation, the best thing is it is very, very modular and flexible. Okay, you can automate what you need. If you want to automate your design, you can automate it. If you want to automate your pre-production, like your generating of the cutting list, it is possible. If your factory is not equipped with high-end machinery, you can have a barcode printer which is offline. So you can automate without having very high-end machines and still achieve a quality which is required. For example,
Satish, sorry to interject, Satish. We're not talking about quality in this session. We're talking about cost.
No, what I mean is the cost can be controlled. The cost of the automation can be controlled based on what level you want to automate. Okay, we're not talking about like 5-axis machines which is required for doing complicated facades. When you're talking about doors and windows, if you have a conventional machinery, you can use the software in terms of automation or generating your cutting list.
Satish, in that case, you are merely replacing a semi-skilled worker with a little good machine. What is that automation? That is not a great automation.
Today, no. Today, there are more than 15 companies in India which have a certain level of automatic machines. and which have a certain level of software to connect to these machines. Okay. So when we say fully automated plants are very, very rare. Even in European context, it is not possible because there is a lot of variable components in terms of design. Okay. But we look at the Indian context, when we look at, let's say, 1 minute, when we look at, say, the cost of rework, okay, the automation helps in eliminating the cost of rework, so which is a big saving. At the end of the day, if you have a labor and sir, galti ho gaya, galti se kaat diya, okay, your entire extrusion is gone. So it leads to a lot of delays, lot of errors, lot of rework, which can be controlled by having a level of automation where you can control the cost. Okay, not necessarily that the cost goes up when you automate. Okay, yes,
so
there could be.
Why do very less industries have this fully automated plants? Why?
Okay, this is important. Okay. Maybe my answer will not be liked by many, but it is like, Deepika says this dialogue in Happy New Year, Ijjat. Sir, if the fabricator gets the respect for what he is doing, definitely a lot of people will go towards automation. Today, people don't get the respect.
No.
Even when they have a good automated factory, they are pitched. No, let me complete. They are pitched in the tender with somebody who doesn't have the same level. Okay, that's the reason why people are still hesitant to get into this capital investment. When they see all the benefits, they see the benefit of quality, they see the benefit of the faster production, they still hesitate because they don't get the respect in the market. They don't get the price at the market. Okay. Once they get the respect, definitely the price can be also controlled.
When you're saying respect, is directly that there's some other vendor who's undercutting the price and give it a cheaper rate. That's exactly what I'm trying to hint at.
No. If everybody is the same level, or when you call for a tender and you call the same level of fabricators, the difference is not going to be undercutting. Because you know that your design intent is clear.
No, but
your
if
cost is clear.
Design intent and my quality control parameters are set, so how does it matter if I do on a manual machine or an automated machine, and the manual company will give a cheaper price?
But they will
No. With a manual, if you have to achieve. Sorry.
Number one, Jatin's question itself answers the whole thing. Basically there is a need, there is a demand of this industry which is getting developed. Okay, that is number one. Number two, any investor, for example, I am an investor. I invest 500 crores and I get the product in 5 years, and in automation I get the product in 2 years. Which one I will go for? With a higher premium.
Where are the volumes, Mr. Sabu? Where are the volumes? Where is the economy of scale for that?
See, our construction industry basically is based on the basic needs of the human lives. Human life, food, the roti, kapda, makan, jo bolte na, food, clothes, shelter. Everything needs an industry, everything needs an housing, everything needs a factory, everything needs infrastructure. So construction is not going to go anywhere as long as human life is there. Only the sectors may get prioritized depending on the current scenarios, but the demand is always going to be there.
Let me ask Mario, has he seen any kind of this volume in last 10 years of his having a fully automated Lingle plant running?
In India, unfortunately not. Okay, in India not. Germany.
That answers, right?
Question is, again, the precision and what Satish said, what price we are going to achieve in the market, and we need the recognition for a quality product. Every customer, unfortunate, fortunate, gets what he pays for. When I have my fully automation plant, I'm going to get it at 0.0 tolerance. I'm going to produce it faster. I'm going to install it faster. And I'm going to get a product which has a much longer lifetime, which other industries, even like the hardware fittings for interiors, have also problems in making it when I'm going to make a lot of work unskilled at site. So that's why the section are the best, the hardware are the best. But in case it is done at site only, the entire product is going to fail. And this is where we are looking for recognition of our trade, which is very, very much underestimated, so that the overall product, lifetime, performance, guarantee, warranty should be appreciated. And then this little premium should be actually paid because we are very much faster than anyone who does it at site.
So do you mean to say that developers today don't value this quality which an automation can bring in?
Private customers, yes. I'm mainly working.
That would be a wrong statement, Jatin. Developers want quality, but
of course, but at the right cost.
Yes, of course.
Right? So what's the right cost? In today's context, Gautam, do you think what's the right cost of automation, or is India today ready to have this embrace entirely on automation? And
I
ask
think
like,
that question should go to Mukesh ji rightfully, whether developer world is willing to pay that cost. But I think I'll just harp on 3 points very quickly, almost trying to fish out answers from what was said by all the panelists. I think first thing is why fix something that is not broken? I mean, there are 3 fabricators on the panel here. All of them are very, very proud of their product currently. It requires some manual checks at every stage, but I think we are happy with what we are shipping out. There are obviously issues on site when we install it, etc. But I think those can be answered without artificial intelligence or heavy machinery being engaged and involved. Second thing, I think the point that Satish brought over, it's about cost amortization. Once you invested it, what's your return of investment at the end of the day?
absolutely.
And you can't get money back in the shortest possible time so that you can start reaping benefits of the investment that you've made. I don't think people will be very, very shy of making that investment. Third point, I think what Mukeshji brought about, what is the rush? I have heard it often from a lot of developers or potentially even facade fabricators complaining about glass fabricator having automated lines, and they supply the glass way too quickly. They don't have place to store it. They don't have the cash to pay. Everybody wants to get it at the right time and not oversupply or early supply. I think that can become a huge problem as well. I think all our building.
One key point I would like to point here is that overall we have very premium graded developers which are a very limited list. Okay, you can name them, right? But we also have in tier 2 cities, in tier 1 cities, and tier 3 cities, the developers who are not in that segment. So I am only trying to put in this point of cost was on Indian context. It's not about key developers, top graded developers. It's about entire India as a country. So from that perspective, do you think this labor still rely on this developers still rely on labors, cutting at site, fabricating a window, installing the window? So that becomes a complete labor intensive job rather than a finished product, a grade A product which is coming out from a factory and going up. Mukeshji.
Yeah, so in that case, what will happen, I'll go to various system windows or the manufacturers, and it's like, I'm buying an elevator. I decide the brand of the elevator and design my shaft size accordingly, or I design my shaft sizes, plan out my building, and then go to various elevator, which one is, getting fitted into my shaft, and then probably three are able to cater to my needs, my size of shaft, and then I do the negotiations with them depending upon their quality, their brand, and so on and so forth. Now, what will happen if there has to be a large volume being generated by the manufacturers, in our case facade, then I'll have to go to Mario, what are his standard sizes, and then I backplan my building accordingly. I go to Satish, what he can offer me at the cheap, at the most economical rate. I backplan my windows accordingly. Then I have to work that way. It cannot be reversed that I have designed something and they will automate the design and everything and give me the best product, but they won't have the volumes for that.
Satish.
No. See, when we say automation, for example, if you have different size of windows, there are softwares available today which can optimize multiple projects together so that the offcut of one project can be utilized in another project. So you can optimize your bar length so that you can reduce their wastage and control your costs. So automation helps in a lot of things. It's not just about machines. Okay? The first thing people think is that automation means robotics, machinery. No, automation starts before that. When you have an optimization software which can optimize your cut lengths, you can store your offcuts.
Your point taken, but you should have a parallel projects, to offset those things. Again, I'm coming. Where are the orders? Orders would be distributed.
Mukesh, the advantage is when you have an offcut, you can label it, store it in a different location. You have a database which can recall this at any point. Okay. But you're
offering that savings to us. Will you offer that savings to us in anticipation that
definitely.
you might use it somewhere?
So can I come in?
We are able to also optimize the cut lengths.
I think let
many
Ravi
cases we get
speak on this.
optimized cutting. Yeah, yeah, sure, Ravi.
See, here I'm talking from the perspective of the cost only. If you're talking about a cost comparison of which is better, which is cheaper, I think we are opposing it. If you say automation should always, as a general term, get the product quality to be much better and the price should be lower. That's when the automation gets succeeded and acceptable. But if automation here we are arguing about is going to be expensive to get a product, means as Mukesh ji says, is purely because we don't have volumes come.
I think we have a net connection with Mr. Ravi, but just to add to his point, he was saying
Are not even occupied by 20% of the capacity. So already in a semi-manual, again, automation is a vast subject. My calculator is automation also. So yes, the basic automation everybody is using, from an automated screwdriver to this. If you're talking automation at a higher level of automatic machines, Satish, I was selling a system to one fabricator and I sold him a punch. It was costing him 2.5 lakhs to do all the machining what he requires on one machine. And the guy simply looked at me and told me, Ravi, there are 12 punches in this. I can make 12 small hand presses and do my operation at 40,000 rupees. Why do I spend this money? I have the space and a team. So probably the logistics is completely different of ROI. So I think it's more volume connected. And second, it is connected to your site conditions. So on site installations, we can do automation on the production level, yes. On installation levels, even on the floor level, like if you have a larger plate, or the larger flat plate of a plant area, which is a bigger building of a commercial building, how do you automatically move materials inside the building is a big challenge. You heavily depend on the manpower over there.
I think, Ravi, one point I just want to bring in, which has come up from the chat box also, that post-COVID automation, is it becoming a necessity? Of course, there is a cost angle attached to it, but is it labor? We have a huge, responsibility towards the labor who have been always supportive to us.
A lot of manpower.
Yeah, a lot of manpower.
Yeah, so we need manpower, but the industry is not ready for it today. We need to all together jointly move towards that direction to make the industry ready to take automation. And we have the volumes, then you get the ROI.
But to have the automation done, you also need to upskill your labor. Currently, are your laborers have the skill set?
Luckily for India point of view, I would say the IQ level of Indians is very high, and training becomes simple. It's not complicated with all the machine automation. Yes, we need skilled labor, but the quality of labor what we have in our country is pretty good.
And do we have a training institute to skill those laborers?
Beg your pardon?
Do we have the training institute to skill up those laborers today?
Yes, we do have. We have 2 years ago set up one here.
But from the machine company itself, the guys give quite a good training, and you just take up guys, skilled guys, and keep on training them and give some backup. I think we can start working on it.
See, basically the dependency of the workforce gets decreased because of automation. That itself gives a motivation for the other blue collars to increase their skill sets, to increase their sales value. I mean, the remuneration goes up. So, and as Mr. Ravi very rightly told, the blue collar guys are really talented. They can learn the trades so fast, so quick, and they are there. Necessity is the mother of invention. They can learn anything. So that gives an opportunity for them also to have a better, maybe a life, better life in terms of.
So post-COVID, with this automation becoming a necessity, you think the cost will go up. But how will a developer then sustain this market?
Cost will not go up in automation. Cost will come down. Give us the volumes.
Give us the volumes. So
give us the volume. Cost will come down.
We don't have volumes.
World over, anywhere automation does not take the cost up. Always gets the cost down. Because they're getting volumes, the pricing has to come down.
And this training aspect has come into various products. Be it laying tiles, be it doing plaster, be it doing any other civil work. This training aspect has come into various items and things what we use in the construction industry. So this is also leading to the requirement of less labor and saving cost and saving time. But everything would require a volume. The market has to pick up. You all people have to start buying houses, buy the second, third, fourth house, and we'll all survive.
I think this debate will keep on going on cost, and I'm sorry we cannot continue any further because we have a hard stop. I would invite now all the participants to post their questions on the chat box addressed to the red team only or to the blue team? And meanwhile, based on this round, I would also request Mohitji to again bring up the poll so that audience, while they are chatting and writing in the chat box, others can actually put a poll button to it. Yeah, Mukesh.
I hope everybody, you know, in the audience, when they poll, they should think from the execution angle and just not from the design part of it.
Good point.
Pretty nice closing remarks. Anything from blue team? So we again have.
I think we have said enough. We have said enough for the audience to decide.
So Mohitji, over to you. Let's start the poll process. Participants, please press the right buttons or choose the right options. Interesting. And can we also have questions on the panel, on the chat box for the red team and questions for the blue team?
Last 5 seconds to vote. We still have 30-40 people pending to vote.
Oh.
Really swing it.
What a swing.
Really nice. So red team, I think.
So nation knows what they want.
Great. I think we had a very, very healthy, good debate on all this. And I have a question coming up from one of the panelists that which is addressed to basically, I would address that to the fabrication team here. Automation team requires a lot of training. Are there any training institutes in India, or are there any institutes of this type in the world?
Can I answer, please?
Mario.
What we have done from the year 2016-17 onwards with our association UTMA, we have established a syllabus and curricula, and under the NEP scheme of the vocal educational training, we have established in India the trade of window manufacture and glacier. It's a 2 years course. Here in Bhiwadi, we do have our own training center where the entire industry has sponsored machinery so that we have a complete workshop over there. It's a 2 years course where people are getting employed and going in a frequent time of 1 month, every alternate month there to the training center. The same we want to repeat now shortly in the area of Hyderabad and Coimbatore, because we know it is important to provide skilled workers to the industry so that we know only quality makes quality, so that the people know from the beginning to the end how to make the window, and we are not just appointing someone who makes a particular step of the entire product its whole life and don't know what is done one step before and one step after. The person should know the entire process, and this is what we are implementing here in Bhiwadi very successful.
Wonderful, wonderful. Another question for the blue team: how can automation be useful during installation? Who will like to take that from the blue team? Satish?
Sure. Actually, like I said,
be useful during installation. The discussion is on the installation.
No, installation requires a lot of sequencing. When there is a project, there are a lot of elements which is going up in the project. So it's most important to sequence this and schedule the installation. Automation comes in play here. First is to schedule your installation. Second is to have the right equipment to take up these panels or to move it to different locations. Like Ravi mentioned, when you have a bigger floor plate, to move it to different locations. So there are equipment manufacturers who are able to offer this building management systems to install these doors, windows, either from the inside of the building or from the outside of the building. Now, in some cases where there is complicated facades or locations where you cannot have access from the outside, it is possible to have automation to install these panels or doors, windows from the inside. Of course, these technologies will take time to come to India. It is going to be a little more capital intensive. Now Mukherjee is going to jump onto it, but it is inevitable. It has to come to India because the urban landscape in India is congested. So when you want to automate something or when you want to do it in a controlled environment, considering human safety, you need to bring in these kind of equipments, these kind of technologies. Definitely it is possible, but it could take some time to get the right technologies here. But technologies are available for installation. In many cases, some of the like the facade installation equipments are already here in India. The facade cleaning systems are also in India. There is also possibility to have automatic cleaning systems installed in the facades.
Okay.
But it's
Question
going
for,
to take time for the entire thing to come in.
I would like to make one point.
The question for the red team, is it possible to fully do an automation without any labor? Because automation also requires skilled labor. What do you think about the same? I think it's more of thing, but just to, if someone can answer, please, from the red team. Is it
Okay,
possible to fully automation without labor?
So the very fact that we are pitching for labor dependency, it's amply clear that full automation for installation is not a possibility. And just to add on to this, everyone in this country, we are a very progressive country and we are becoming more and more quality conscious. So people will pay for the quality, but as I said, but not at a huge cost, which is there. But a good product, good quality product is always welcomed with a little premium. It's of course doable, but I'm sure going forward as the scales would ramp up, this cost is going to come down, and as Ravi has rightly put it, the automation should lead to the lesser cost, and hopefully we'll devise some way that even the kind of quality we get at the factory level also comes at the installation level with certain kind of automation there.
A question for Gautam, that one side we talk about reduced carbon footprint, and since Gautam, you are from sustainability and you work quite a lot as an architect as well. One side we talk about reduced carbon footprint, and other side automation, which needs some kind of power and scaling to operate. Can you say about anything about this? What are your views?
Yeah, so we shouldn't automate. That's what I'm saying.
I think we will keep on debating over the next session as well on this point. But it was a very, very informative session, and I thank all of you to take your time out of your busy schedule this Saturday and giving us great inputs. Yes, definitely there is a need of automation post-COVID situation where there are labors need to be upskilled and labor dependency needs to be taken up on a higher level. We need to take a halt. We need to re-strategize ourselves, realign ourselves, look at more projects, look at volumes, and keep going back to the drawing board. So that there's a right balance, right approach between labor and being automated. Automation brings quality, automation brings productivity, but labor dependency is key and vital at all stages of production, design. With this, I thank you all again. Thank you so much for being part of this group. Thank you, participants. Mohitji, would you like to please conclude this and take it forward? Mohitji. Sir, you're on mute.
Yeah. So it's been really, really wonderful. I mean, I've heard everybody, and it's been a very nice, amazing. The way we wanted the debate to happen, it's just been that way. And it's been great to hear the views of all the industry stalwarts on automation and labor. I believe both have its pros, both have its cons, and it is the industry to decide. It is the finances of the company to decide. It all depends on how long term are you planning. Automation, I think, is more long term. Okay, it's a different view. So I would just like to close it on a note that thank you very much. Thank you, Satish ji, Shabu ji, Mr. Mukesh, Gautam, Ravi, Mario, and special thanks to Jatin ji for handling the heat from both the sides. You balanced it really, really well. So thank you very much, and thumbs up.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thanks, Javier, for running a very nice branding and marketing team here. Thank you to all of you and on the backend team.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very
Thank
much.
you so much. Thank you so much. It was wonderful.
Be safe.
Thank you to all
Be
the
safe.
panelists.
Have a nice day.